Our sports. 97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station. This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Now, Sports Bash Saturday. Here's Josh Hennig.
One more hour for me here on 97.3 ESPN. Yes, I just gave you the locker room from, well, one though, Sports Bash Saturday. Shout out to the guy who's already asking me about UFC picks. I mean, there's nothing better than the reliable texter who texts in and says, I need some picks, Josh. I need to know what you think. Well, I'll get you the picks a little bit later in the show here on 97.3 ESPN. I am Josh Hennig, hanging out with you live in the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Still to come, DraftKings NFL analyst Reid Fowler will join us coming up at 12:20 today. We'll talk with him about the NFL. We'll talk with him about what's going on in the football world. And, of course, we are live on YouTube at 973 ESPN. You can also DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. And keep your texts coming. We read some texts in the last hour. Thanks to Matt in Delaware, Dan in EHT, and who was the other gentleman who texted in? Mike Carlin. He's on the radio tomorrow. Jim in Rio Grande. Don't want to forget about Jim in Rio Grande. And it was from Rio Grande, but I don't know if it was Jim or James, but from my mind goes somewhere sometimes. Anyway, we got a lot of football to preview. I'll give you the full slate of picks against the spreads and the over-unders a little bit later in the show. But I want to start off with, this playoff weekend is going to be exciting, not just because it's the playoffs, but because this is the first time in a while that I can remember you having a situation where the NFL doesn't have a bad game. How many times over the years have we seen the NFL they have a bad game here and there? They have a game that you're just like, is this really worth it? Is this game really what we hope it would be? I feel like there's so many times where like the first couple games of Wild Card Weekend, they're just duds, right? And this one's not. And I'm excited. I really am. I think that we have some great football coming up, and I'm looking forward to talking all about it with you guys and recapping it on Monday, because let's be realistic. The NFL is one of the greatest shows on earth, right? I love what the NFL does. I love what they pull off. I love what they're capable of. And I think that every game has so much intrigue. It has so much drama. It has so many, how should I call it? There's so many variables to go into this. And the Eagles game is the perfect example. This Eagles game to me is very simple. I mentioned it during the locker room with Billy Schwein. Thanks to Billy for entrusting me with his show. Great stuff from Brad Quast today. I'm really asking this question. Is there anything more simple about this game than two things? Run the ball and slow down Brady. Because you're not stopping Brady. Even in 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts, I don't think Brady's not going to score at all. I don't think that there's any scenario where Brady completely is just shut down. I don't think the Eagles have the personnel to do that. They don't have the defensive personnel like a team like the Saints do. The Saints have an amazing group of guys. I don't think you have that kind of talent on defense. But I think you have enough talent to at least make things difficult for Brady. You just have to go out there and execute. I don't understand why this is so difficult for the Eagles to understand. And maybe I'm being a little hypercritical, and that's fine. I know some people out there are going to be like, why are you being so angry, Josh? Why are you being so mean? I'm being angry and mean because I'm being serious. I don't care about the fancy stuff. You play to win the game. And part of playing to win the game is you do the things that put you in a position to be successful. And part of being successful in the NFL is saying, this is what works. I'm going to do it. It's a very simple formula. I never understood why there are these coaches out there that are constantly trying to reinvent the wheel. We know there's one way that slows down Tom Brady. There's one method that has worked every single time. One thing, one way, one method to the madness, one strategy. You beat Brady by hitting him up the middle, getting pressure in his face, making him get off time. You got to break up his timing. You got to get in his face. You got to clog the part of the pocket that he loves to use the most. Tom Brady is, for lack of a better term, the expert at maneuvering the pocket. Well, part of maneuvering the pocket for Brady is moving up and down the pocket. Tom Brady has a long history, as I just mentioned, of being able to move up the pocket. That's why I got to get in his face. That's why you have to stop him. It's the only way to do it. It's not rushing on the edge. It's not exotic blitzes. When the Patriots had trouble scoring in that Super Bowl versus the Rams a few years ago, what was the key? It was Aaron Donald coming up the middle and disrupting the game. Once the Patriots were able to slow down the Rams' defensive line, they were able to get the ball to Julian Edelman, get that deep pass to Gronk, and finally win the game. There's a long history of Brady either eating you alive or getting pressure up the middle. And I hope Jonathan Gannon understands that. I hope Jonathan Gannon, who, according to reports, he's going to get another job interview. This dude's getting job interviews left and right. Listen, I'm not trying to be mean, all right? But I don't understand what makes Jonathan Gannon a great candidate for a head coaching job, except for the fact that apparently he's a really great interview. Great interview. Cool, man. Look at Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll should have been a guy who got a head coaching job last year. This year, the Bills' offense has regressed. Josh Allen, more interceptions. His completion percentage dropped 6%. But Daboll's getting a head coaching interviews. I guess what happens on the field really isn't that important for some of these guys to get interviews. Because Brian Flores beat Belichick multiple times. He loses his job. Brian Daboll's offense is worse this year than last year. He's getting job interviews. Brian Flores gets fired. How does that work again? The Texans gave Dave Culley a raw deal. But hey, let's get Jonathan Gannon an interview with the Vikings and the Broncos because that makes sense. Look, I know why he's getting part of the interview as well. It's because, when Gannon early in his career coached in Minnesota, so the organization knows him. George Payton, who's the GM now, the Broncos, he was part of the front office when the Vikings hired Gannon to Zimmer's staff. I totally get it. I understand he has personal connections to some of these organizations, and they want to check in to see if maybe he is the guy. I totally get that. I just want to see Gannon do his job tomorrow. Eagles are the first game of the triple header tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 12 o'clock, following the locker room with Billy Schwein. By the way, Pete Thompson, Mike Carlin will be filling in on the locker room tomorrow for Billy on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, today on 97.3 ESPN, we have college basketball, West Virginia versus Kansas coming up at 1:30, followed by NFL doubleheader, Raiders, Bengals, and then Patriots, Bills tomorrow. Eagles, Bucks kickoff at 1 p.m. Merrill Reese, Mike Quick on the call, followed by 49ers, Cowboys, along with the Steelers and Chiefs, all football weekend here on your home for Eagles, the NFL, Sixers, and Flyers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN. Still to come, Reid Fowler will join us coming up to get more into the NFL full slate. Reid Fowler from DraftKings here on 97.3 ESPN. As always, the text board is open at 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973. You can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free thanks to First Bank of Sea City, and we are live on YouTube at 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig live in the Matt Blatt Kia studios. Visit them online at mattblattkianj.com for more information. To me, the other thing with this weekend in these games is look at all the guys who are getting their first starts. Derek Carr, first postseason start. Remember, when the last time the Raiders were in the playoffs, he didn't get to start. That was after he had that season-ending injury. It was Matt McGloin, for goodness sake, from Penn State. Joe Burrow, first postseason start. Mac Jones, first postseason start. Jalen Hurts, first postseason start. Kyler Murray, first postseason start. And then look at the guys who have started games but have limited success. Dak Prescott, 1 playoff win. Matthew Stafford, 0-3 in the playoffs. Ben Roethlisberger, we expect this to be his final game of his NFL career. I mean, just looking around all these scenarios. Even Josh Allen, for his young career, he doesn't have a lot of postseason success because he hasn't been in the postseason that much. He has 2 postseason wins. He's 2-2. He's played a total of 4 postseason games. So, at the end of the day, the 2 most experienced guys in the postseason right now are Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. Aaron Rodgers is sitting at home, having a good old time watching football. Ryan Tannehill is able to relax this weekend. You got a lot of young guys with their first NFL starts. And I really want to find out this weekend what that means. I want to see what happens with these guys. I am very curious to find out what these guys are made of. Because in the NFL, the playoffs tell us a lot about people. Listen, there are plenty of scenarios where even though guys don't have great postseason resumes, they're still legendary players. Look at a guy like Dan Marino. Dan Marino was 8-10 in the playoffs. 8-10. Never won a Super Bowl. But the dude's playoff numbers are on the level of a modern quarterback. He had over 4,500 passing yards in his postseason career and 32 touchdowns. Now, he also had 24 interceptions, and part of that was because the Dolphins left so much on his shoulders. They didn't always build the best team around him at times. But at the end of the day, Marino still was Marino. You still were looking at him like, oh, here comes that guy again. Eli Manning, of the 3 quarterbacks who were drafted in 2004, he's probably 3rd on that list. To me, Big Ben's the number 1 guy. He's the best of those 3 quarterbacks from that draft. The conversation between Eli and Philip Rivers, it kind of depends on, how you're valuing those guys. Eli Manning, for a guy who had a ton of interceptions in his NFL regular season career, for those who may not forget, Eli Manning has 244 interceptions in the regular season. He only had 9 in the playoffs in 12 games. So for a guy who averaged more than an interception during his regular season career, he was really good in the postseason. So there's a lot of things you can learn about quarterbacks in the postseason. Josh Hennig hanging out with you in the Matt Black Kia Studios here on 97.3 ESPN. We'll dig deeper in the NFL schedule. Coming up next with Reid Fowler from DraftKings here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. And we are live on YouTube at 973 ESPN.
This is the radio home for Eagles playoff football. It's the NFC Wild Card round tomorrow with the Eagles in Tampa to face Brady and the Bucs.
Brady back. He lets it go. He is going deep, and it is intercepted. And it is picked off by Harris.
Pre-game coverage begins at noon. Merrill and Mike have the call starting at 1. This is where Eagles playoff football happens. 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's Eagles station.
Is your current vehicle out of shape? Its overall appearance not so great? Need a New Year's resolution? Matt Blatt Mitsubishi has your solution. Bring any trade to Matt Blatt Mitsubishi and drive home in a brand new 2022 Mitsubishi Mirage for only $12,995. That's a brand new car with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty for the price of most used cars. Or put zero down and pay zero interest on every brand new Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross and Outlander Sport SUV. Plus, used car values are at an all-time high. Are you aware that your trade is worth more than you think? Get to Matt Blatt Mitsubishi and put zero down and pay zero interest for 48 months. Why would you buy a used car? Drive home a new Mitsubishi for only $12,995. Get to Matt Blatt Mitsubishi and drive home a brand new car or SUV today. Simply Matt Blatt Mitsubishi. For complete details, dial 866-978-2535 or go to mattblatt.com. Not all will qualify. Plus tax, license, and 479 doc fee. Ally Financial. 0% based on 2083 for $1,000. Negative equity refinance to new loan. Offers don't combine. Expires 2/6/2022. Matt Blatt Mitsubishi. In the heart of Glassboro for 30 years.
Creamy nut butter makes it delightfully sweet. Roasted nuts make it perfectly salty. Get 2 great tastes in one delicious bar. Enjoy a Nature Valley sweet and salty nut bar today.
This tax filing season could be one for the record books. There are thousands of dollars worth of new tax credits on the table, and Jackson Hewitt will help make sure you get every one you deserve. Tax credits for being a parent, taking care of a parent, taking classes, and so much more. Don't leave thousands on the table. Jackson Hewitt will make sure you get credit for all you do and get your biggest refund guaranteed. Learn more and find your nearest location at jacksonhewitt.com.
Every 2 minutes, someone is injured in a drunk driving crash. Every 51 minutes, someone is killed. Drunk driving is still the #1 cause of death on our roadways. Drugs, other than alcohol, are involved in about 18% of motor vehicle driving deaths. These deaths are 100% preventable. Never drive after using drugs or alcohol. Have a designated driver, call a taxi, or use a rideshare service. This message is brought to you by Join Together Atlantic County. For more information, visit jtacnj.org. That's jtacnj.org.
To show you how easy it is to file a claim with Geico, we hired a nature show host.
In the native habitat of a suburban driveway, the poor victim of a broken windshield is left assessing his vehicle, utterly helpless.
Well, not true. If he's got Geico, he can file a claim online, over the phone, or with his handy mobile app.
But like a lone gazelle, he'll suddenly be left to fend for himself, awaiting his terrible fate.
Nope. Geico will assign him a designated claims team to help him out, too.
So the gazelle gets his car fixed and everything. Wow, nature is so cool.
Geico. Great service without all the drama.
Some people are easily moved.
Wasn't that just the saddest movie ever?
Whatever. Others, not so much.
Oh, look at the puppies!
Just dogs, but smaller, so what? But even those who aren't easily moved.
Look, your long-lost brother's been found!
Oh, hi, Mike. Can be moved by us. Yeah, we're that good.
Use Clark's Moving and Storage in Rio Grande for your next local or long-distance move. Visit Clark's Moving and Storage online at clarksmoving.net.
Hurry into Mattress Firm's New Bed, New You sale. Right now, you can save up to $500 on our wide selection of top-selling brands. Plus, get a free adjustable base with qualified Sealy purchase up to a $4.99 value. Or shop Hot Buys and get up to 50% off, like Sealy twin mattresses starting at $224.99, or Sleepy's twin mattresses starting at $159.99. In stock for immediate delivery with a low price guarantee. Only at Mattress Firm. Restrictions apply. See store for details.
This is a message for the people of Cape May County. For over a year, we've been doing the hard work necessary to slow the spread of COVID. Over 60,000 county residents have been vaccinated, but that leaves about 35,000 residents left to get their shots. We've said all along that it's not over yet. Lately, our numbers have gone up, but they remain well below the highs we saw last winter. There's no need to panic, but you should be careful and mask up indoors when social distancing is difficult. We know that the more people we have vaccinated, the more we slow the spread of the virus. Please call the Cape May County Department of Health at 609-465-1187 and find out how easy it is to get the vaccine. Once again, that number is 609-465-1187. You can get vaccinated. It's easy. Be careful and get vaccinated so we can all finish strong, safely together.
Have you wanted to speak a new language but thought it'd be too difficult or take too much time? Then try Babbel. Whether you want to learn Spanish for future travel plans, French to connect with extended family, or maybe German to land a new job, Babbel works because it's built around real life. It teaches you everyday practical conversations that you'll actually use. All you need is 15 minutes a day, and you'll be on your way to confidently speaking a new language in just a few weeks. Babbel is designed by real language experts using a modern, conversation-based technique that makes learning fun, engaging, and best of all, memorable. It starts by teaching you words and phrases. Then sentences gradually get more complex. Soon you're practicing short conversations about real-life topics. And with 14 languages to choose from and lesson topics like travel, business, relationships, and more, you'll be sure to learn what matters most to you. Babbel, language for life. Learn a new language with ease. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Bennett Chevy says, we want your vehicle, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. We can help with expert appraisers on hand to help you get more, and you don't need to buy one of ours. Plus, if you're stuck in a lease, Bennett Chevy is an authorized lease return center for all brands. Looking to trade? Bennett will give you a minimum $7,000 for any clunker, no matter the condition or mileage. That's a minimum $7,000 towards any pre-owned vehicle in stock. And if you've got a good quality trade, you can only imagine how much more Bennett will pay. At Bennett Chevrolet, you always have options. Sell us your vehicle, there's no purchase necessary. Trade your old clunker, get a minimum $7,000 towards any pre-owned in stock. Bring us your high quality vehicle and have our expert appraisers make you an offer you can only imagine. And if you're stuck in a lease, Bennett can help. So whatever your needs or whatever you choose, at Bennett you'll always get more, because nobody beats Bennett Chevy. Egg Harbor Township and BennettChevy.com.
This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig here, hanging out with you. Power Hour, finishing up my 3-hour tour here on 97.3 ESPN. Dig deeper into the NFL Super Wild Card Weekend, because apparently if you don't say Super Wild Card Weekend, apparently you're doing something wrong. Apparently, when it acts like for me. But anyway, to get more into the NFL, joining us right now, live on YouTube at 97.3 ESPN, Reid Fowler from DraftKings joins us right now here on 97.3 ESPN. Reid, how you doing this weekend?
Good, Josh. We got golf in Hawaii, which obviously you know by my background, I'm a huge fan of, born and raised in my home state. So one of my favorite sports, if not my favorite sport, in my favorite place in the world. And we have football throughout 3 days in a row. So you can't get better than this weekend. I'm
surprised you're not there in Hawaii for the golf, honestly.
Trust me, Josh. I've been trying for 5 years long. It's a slow I'm playing the long game here.
You're playing the long game.
Right.
Nice. Well, let's get into the NFL, because this is, there's so much here. One of the stats I saw, Reid, I want to ask you about is, and of the last 22 wild card games, 15 out of 22, the dog has covered the spread. I mean, that's a huge number when you look into it. So I feel like for all the people who are trying to go chalk, they're picking home teams. I'm like, but history tells us there's going to be some upsets this weekend.
Yeah, and history tends to rhyme, not necessarily repeat, right? But it can rhyme quite handsomely, and especially if you're betting on dogs this weekend, you got a couple, especially the first game on the slate with the Raiders and the Bengals, that feels like you're getting the Bengals, right? Or if you're betting on them, you're betting them at their top right now. You're essentially buying exactly what their zenith is, which is Jamar Chase, rookie of the year, offensive rookie of the year. Joe Burrow looking like the guy that he is supposed to be over the next 10, 15 years for the Bengals. And so you're getting a couple of these games, and like Bill Belichick getting it right now in the DK Sportsbook, it's at 4.5. So now it's creeping up. I've seen it in some places at 5, Josh, where you're getting the Patriots in the playoffs getting 5 points. So yeah, the dogs, and we'll talk about the Eagles, I'm sure. You could win some coin here, and it's not that hard to think about betting on some of these dogs.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Patriots. Let's start there because for me, Reid, it's how do you bet against Belichick? How do you go against? I mean, Josh Allen is telling Diana Rossini that he's not going to wear sleeves because he's worried he might fumble the ball. And I'm just thinking, like, is this where we are? Like, we're overthinking so much. Belichick's probably just sitting somewhere just being like, I'm waiting for kickoff. I'm just waiting for kickoff. Like, to me, it's freezing cold up there. Josh Allen's thinking about sleeves for the game. Like, I just feel like this game screams Patriots to me.
Yeah, I mean, it does scream that, right? And then based off of what we said at the beginning of the show, right, or beginning of the segment, excuse me, is that history, you feel like it should repeat itself, right? But I would argue that you should come into it not as gung-ho on the Patriots as possible because, yes, like Diana Rossini has gotten a lot of stuff based on this game from either Josh Allen or Bart Scott, what have you. She's gotten a lot of stuff, so I appreciate her being the consummate pro that she is, making sure she's composed on live air, which, hat tip to her. But you take a look at the Patriots and what do they do well, right? They run the ball extremely well. Belichick can scheme extremely well, right? We know that if they get up 2 possessions, they're usually going to win. That's the Patriots. They take out your best player. But now this is the third contest between these two teams, and you're looking at a guy in Mac Jones that over the last handful of games, he has not kept the ball safe. And that is a huge, huge thing for Belichick is move the chains, stay on schedule, especially with the rookie quarterback. If these guys get down early in the Patriots, I'm worried that they can't cover this number because if you look at the Bills, when they're playing at their top and now they know, right, what can beat these guys at home, that worries me a little bit. And so I think this one's the toughest one to handicap. At 4.5, I tend to lean with you, Josh, taking the Patriots, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Bills come out swinging. And I like the over in this game. A lot of people are going to the under. It's 44 right now. I kind of like the over. If you like the Bills too, right, to cover, then the over is definitely in play. One of my favorite bets in this one is over team total for the Bills. They're the highest on the slate right now. I think it's at 24.5, 20, somewhere around there, maybe 25. It could creep up a little bit. But if you can get it at around that number, I like it a lot.
Yeah, I'm with you about the over-under. I'm honestly uncomfortable about it. I feel like the over-under is just as a sucker bet right now, no matter what happens. I mean, I could totally see it being like, it'll be right there, and then like last minute it'll go over, and people will lose their minds kind of thing, I totally see that happening. You mentioned Mac Jones. Well, in the game before that, you have 2 quarterbacks both making their first postseason start. Last time Raiders in the postseason wasn't Carr under center. I believe it was Matt McGloin, for goodness sake. And you have Joe Burrow. And to me, this game, I feel like you could make an argument for both teams. The only thing I feel comfortable about is I think this game does hit the over. I feel like the Bengals are the team that has had the most points scored per game in their stadium in the NFL this year. So to me, I feel like there's going to be points. I just don't know who's going to score more because I feel like both teams, you can make an argument for them.
Yeah, and you're right. Like I think what the initial reaction with this game is, you can score on the Raiders, right? You can put up 30 points on the Raiders pretty easily, and that's kind of what you need in this one. If this number is going to sit at 48, 48.5, 49, if it creeps up for kickoff, you need a team essentially to get to around high 20s, low 30s for this to go up. And look at the Raiders when they didn't have Darren Waller, and that's going to be the biggest wild card, no pun intended, in this game is how effective is Waller, because when he was out since week 12, the Raiders only put up 15 points or around there per game. And that's how they were winning, right? You look at Josh Jacobs over his last few games, he's got close to 70 attempts over his last few games total. And you see that now Bisaccia on this Raiders team, they want to control the clock. They want to rely on their defensive line, getting pressure on Joe Burrow. That's the biggest thing. And so that's why for this game specifically, I actually lean towards the Raiders. And now you're getting this number back up to where it started and opened up at 6.5. I think that's too much. I think it's too much for a team that can match up well with the Bengals in terms of defense against offensive line, right? We know the Raiders have that. Derek Carr can move the ball. He's been shown to be safe with it. And this guy, has more quote unquote experience than Joe Burrow. And this coaching staff, I would argue that the Raiders have a little more experience, not playoff, but just experience in general. So I still think Cincy can win this game. Absolutely. But I do think the Raiders cover here.
Hey, maybe a situation where you jump on DraftKings Sportsbook on the app or online and you just tease both the Raiders and the Patriots at that point. I mean that might be the best bet for Saturday at this point.
Yeah, the only problem is you never want. Yeah, if it's at 6.5, then definitely tease the Raiders. You don't want to tease through 0 because you lose value on those points. But yeah, if it starts to creep up, or if it's at 6, like you're mentioning, it's basically a pick 'em, right? Like you want to make sure that you don't tease it through 0. But at this point, yeah, you're absolutely right. Is that if you don't have confidence in these teams, I would even argue, I'm sure we're going to get to it, is teasing Tampa Bay. And that seems like the play, especially with what the weather could be in that game.
Well, we'll get to that next. DraftKings NFL analyst Reid Fowler joining us here on Sports Bash Saturday on 97.3 ESPN at Reid T. Fowler on Twitter. Give him a follow there. A lot of money's coming in on Tampa all week. The money keeps pounding the Bucks, but Reid, we got 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts scheduled for tomorrow. Maybe rain, maybe not rain. Florida's weird. We know that. But the wind is going to be there. There's a part of me that keeps thinking, is this game going to really be as much of a blowout as people think it's going to be?
Yeah, I would argue that if you definitely want to check the weather report because it looks like a lot of wind, a lot of rain. And if that's the case in Tampa in a slow field, then that's going to be an under all the way, right? It's, I think, at 46 last time I saw it. I might have gone down to 45.5. Yeah, so if at 46, that's one where it's like right on the money, where you're like, okay, I could definitely see this being like a 24-21 type of game in favor of the Bucks. I tend to think, though, Josh, that if it is going to be okay, right, if it's not going to be this monsoon down there, I worry about Philly in the sense of their defensive line is their best unit on defense, right? We know this. They got some guys on that defensive line that are stout, that are really good. But then when you get to the linebacker in the secondary position, outside of Darius Slay, you start to question a little bit, especially against this Tampa offense, right? That's the big thing that scares me. And you have Gronk, who's healthy. You're going to be without some guys that were filling in for those Antonio Brown and Chris Godwin, the guys that he didn't play for the last few weeks. But you're getting now Leonard Fournette potentially back. We'll see. But he's trending towards that way. It's Tom Brady in the playoffs. This is probably going to go closer to, I think, the first meeting with these guys. What was that? Back in week 6, 28-22, where you could see a backdoor cover from Philly late if they have that ball, because Jalen Hurts is that guy who can move the chains. He can run for 4 or 5 yards, keep that second down distance, the manageable 2nd and 5, 3rd and 3, and that's what you need against this defense. But having said that, even though Philadelphia's offensive line has been strong, this defensive line for the Bucks is so good, and that's what really scares me. If you're back in the Phillies the Eagles right now, is that this defensive line for the Bucks can wreak some havoc, even though the Eagles' offensive line has been really, really good this year.
Yeah, Vita Vea is an absolute monster on the defense for Tampa. I mean, that guy is just a freak athlete. I mean, you see him sometimes, you don't believe how big he is.
Oh, he's massive, and you don't believe how crazy in a good way he is when he chips his tooth, when he loses his tooth, and the guy is smiling, right? Polynesians, trust me, I grew up around them my entire life. They know how to do 2 things, which is, MMA, right? Be warriors and be football players. These guys are so strong between the ears and just like physically, this guy's an absolute monster, and I love it.
Yeah, he absolutely is. He's so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
The game that if there was one game you asked me, Reid, if I had to hit the money line hard, it's the 49ers Cowboys game. I think Mike McCarthy is the worst coach in the playoffs. I think he's the worst game manager. And I personally think that Kyle Shanahan is going to run circles around him. He's going to absolutely whip him, because I think McCarthy, for as good as his coordinators are, he always finds a way to screw it up.
Yeah, it does. Right. It's, never manages the clock late. And so you like the covers in that sense if the 49ers need to. You like that if you have 49ers money line, is that McCarthy towards the end of the first half, if you're betting first half lines or the end of the game, is probably not going to manage it well. And also too, right, Josh, Shanahan knows Dan Quinn's defense. And that's massive, right? When you have a young, strong, you have a strong defense in Dallas, but who's gotten lucky on the turnover side this entire season. If you have someone who knows that scheme fairly well, like Shanahan does, and has a really good run offense, really good play action, that's what scares me about Dallas. If you're taking Dallas, right, like, and they've been good against the spread, 13-4 this season, I actually like them better, just money line bet, to win this game. Because you're right, I just don't trust McCarthy at all. I'd rather just have him win by 1 point by luck, as opposed to betting and laying the points with Dallas, because I think they're 27th in play action pass defense on the season. And when you have Eli Mitchell being able to run, and if he's running effectively, and Deebo Samuel and George Kittle on the other side, and Brandon Ayuk and Juwan Jennings, who's coming out as that number 4 type of receiver, that's going to wreak a lot of havoc for this Dallas team, because they're very, very aggressive on defense.
Yeah, and also, don't forget that, listen, Dallas insisted on playing the final week of the season, against basically the third string Eagles, whereas the 49ers were actually playing a real team the final week of the season. So, maybe the Cowboys coming in here a little too confident, but we'll see what happens. Sunday Night Football, I feel like this is the game that everyone's just assuming it's Chiefs and they'll cover the spread. But the Chiefs do have a history of not covering the spread as well. So is this one of those games where you just say to people, look, guys, you can throw all your money on every other game on DraftKings Sportsbook. This is the game. You guys can just sit back, grab a drink and just watch it.
Yeah, pretty much, right? You kind of want to gauge if you got Kansas City futures when they were supposedly done midway through the season and you picked them up 8-1 to win the Super Bowl. Or to win the AFC, good on you, because this is where they're sitting right now. They got a pretty easy path, so to speak, right to that game and potentially to the Super Bowl. And if you want to bet this game and you want to make it interesting, I'm looking right now on the DK Sportsbook for the Kansas City team total. It's 29.5. The Steelers, what you do against them is you can run for sure against them. I think they're the worst run defense in the NFL. And if you're Ben Roethlisberger and you're the Steelers, right, you have to air it out. And I think you're going to get some turnovers and you might get some defensive touchdowns. So that 29.5 team total is not bad at all. I don't mind it one bit. I'd much rather bet the Bills team total over as opposed to Kansas City, because they might lay down. They might say 25, 27 points, 28 is fine if we're winning 28-3.
And the final game, Monday Night Football, Cardinals Rams. This is fascinating because JJ Watt is back. He's there for moral support. Him and his massive arm, utility weapon. Basically, you have the first start for Kyler Murray, the first playoff game for Cliff Kingsbury. Matthew Stafford has never won a playoff game. I mean, something's got to give here. And oh, by the way, they're division rivals.
Right. And they split, I believe, 1-1 in the season.
Yeah.
The Rams waxed them in week 4, 37-20. The Cardinals beat the Rams 37-20 in week 4. And then the Rams sort of did the same thing, right? More recently. And I lean right now towards, and you talked about bad coaching in McCarthy. I think Cliff Kingsbury has made strides from last year, but I still don't think he's a good coach. Just because of when you rely so heavily on one player to try and change the entire trajectory of your offense, which you can, which is a quarterback, right? You can do that. You need to build around him. And when you don't have DeAndre Hopkins and someone who can stretch the field, this is going to be tough to keep up with the Rams. Yes, we know Stafford has been turnover just centric over the last few weeks, but I still lean, especially I would wait because this number has, gone back and forth and has vacillated around 4. We've seen it as low as 3.5. If you get 3.5 with the Rams, I like that a lot more than what it is at 4.
Also, and I'm trying to look at it right now on the DraftKings Sportsbook. One of the bets of the game, honestly, I'm looking at it right now. If you could do a same game parlay of Stafford over half an interception and over 1.5 touchdowns, that might be the play here, honestly.
Oh, yeah. Stafford's been really good especially with the interceptions. If you look at the major props, Josh, over the entire season, over interceptions was like the second highest to rush and receiving over totals in the entire, like every single week, is because quarterbacks, because it can make sense, right? Offenses are more pass heavy. Defenses are playing a little, like they're getting used to it a little bit more. And you're just seeing these guys throw a ton of interceptions. So if it's at like half, if it's at half an interception on the DK Sportsbook, if you can get any book you're on, then I would hammer that, because Stafford has been really, really prone to do it. And we know they got some players like Isaiah Simmons, Chandler Jones, JJ Watt. They can get to the quarterback, and we know Stafford, he's been known to just throw a YOLO ball to OBJ.
Right, exactly. By the way, speaking of YOLO ball, who's not there is DeAndre Hopkins. That definitely is the big negative against the Cardinals in this game. Super NFL wildcard weekend. I've been told I have to keep saying that, so I keep saying it. He's Reid Fowler. Follow him on Twitter at Reid T. Fowler. DraftKings, NFL, and golf. You want to follow him for all those great golf bets, all the things that only he would know that I definitely don't know. So I follow him for all that information. Reid, always appreciate you jumping on. Enjoy the golf, enjoy the NFL, and we'll catch you next time.
All right, Josh. Take care. Thanks.
Josh Hennig here on Sports Bash Saturday on 97.3 ESPN. Great stuff from Reid. And don't forget, over on DraftKings Sportsbook are all the odds and numbers we just gave you right there. You can do the same game parlays over there. A lot of crazy options. Because I'm looking at it right now. Because the same game parlay, here it is. So Stafford throws at least one interception, and I'm trying to pull it up right here. Not passing attempts. Here's passing touchdowns. I just feel like Stafford gets the passing touchdown. He gets the interception. Here it is. Plus 155. It's plus 155 for Stafford to throw at least one touchdown and to throw 2 interceptions. So you want to talk about a value? There's a value for you over on the DraftKings Sportsbook. Oh my goodness. That feels like a lock. I don't know what is. All right. We'll give you the full rundown of the slate. Plus, I promised earlier that I would get you some thoughts on the UFC as well this weekend. With all that coming up next, Josh Hennig here in the Matt Black Kia Studios on 97.3 ESPN. Final segment of the show next.
The Super Wildcard round of the NFL playoffs kicks off with a special Saturday doubleheader. Hi, this is Scott Graham. Join me and the rest of our Westwood One crew for all the action. First, the Las Vegas Raiders take on the Cincinnati Bengals. Then it's an AFC East rivalry when the Patriots head to Buffalo to face the Bills. Coverage begins at 4 p.m. Eastern. From the wildcard round all the way to Super Bowl 56 in Los Angeles, the NFL playoffs are right here.
Exclusively on 97.3 ESPN FM. Coverage begins at 4 p.m.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $700 on average, and those savings add up. Imagine what you could buy in the future.
Remember how 15 years ago I switched to Progressive? Well, I used all those savings to buy that golf club that swings for you. But now everyone who plays golf is really good because, the club swings for you in the future, which is now.
So switch to Progressive and save big because those savings can add up in the future. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National annual average insurance savings by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive in 2020. Potential savings will vary.
Hey, Coach, we need to score. What's the call?
We're going to wing it. We're calling the pick.
The pick?
Yeah, the one, the only, the original Piccalilli Inn to score some of South Jersey's best wings and homestyle favorites.
But, Coach, it's the middle of the game.
Pre-game, post-game, during the game, the pick's wings, tails, and ears are always the right call. They're right on Route 206 in Chemung, or check them out on Facebook. Now, who wants mild and who wants hot?
The Piccalilli Inn.
You probably wouldn't leave thousands of dollars on the table at a diner. Why leave thousands on the table with your tax return? Jackson Hewitt will help make sure you don't. This year, there are thousands of dollars worth of new tax credits. Your Jackson Hewitt Tax Pro will help you track down every last one, so you get your biggest refund guaranteed. Don't leave thousands on the table this year. Discover thousands of dollars in tax credits instead. Learn more at jacksonhewitt.com.
Hey everybody, it's Mike Gill. Did you make a New Year's resolution? If your New Year's resolution was to stop swearing, I know you're definitely going to break it when your heater stops working. That's why my friends at Ambient Comfort Heating and Cooling Professionals have a special offer. $50 off any furnace repair for anyone who has already broken their New Year's resolution. Trust the reliable experts at Ambient Comfort to help you save on energy costs and increase the life of your system while keeping your family comfortable regardless of who originally installed your system. When your heater breaks, don't start swearing. Just call Ambient Comfort and get $50 off your furnace repair. Go to AmbientComfortNJ.com. That's AmbientComfortNJ.com. When comfort matters, choose Ambient Comfort. Oh, and tell them Mike Gill from the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN sent you.
This whole wall needs to be shelving too. This is a focal point in our restaurant.
Leilani's restaurant will have the largest wine cellar in the city. She needs a robust sommelier with notes of procurement manager.
3 sections for France. I mean, this is the biggest.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
At Church's, we're doing 10 pieces of our crave-worthy comfort made spicy or classic. That's 10 legs and thighs packed with bold flavor. That's how we do value. So you can do the Church's 10 starting at $10.99 deal. Church's, bringing the down-home flavor. Offer valid at participating locations.
Matt Blatt Kia has a solution to your New Year's resolution. Don't drive around in a car you hate. Trade it in for something great. So bring us any trade, no matter the make, no matter the mileage, no matter the condition, and put 0 down. Pay 0 interest for 60 months or make no payments for 90 days. If you're currently stuck in a loan or lease, Matt Blatt Kia can get you released. Choose from the largest selection of certified pre-owned Kias. So why make a resolution you can't keep? Trade in your old Heat and drive away in a new Kia with 0 down and 0 interest for 60 months on every 2022 Kia Stinger. Or make no payments until next year.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
Offers with approved Tier 1 or 2 credit through Kia Motors Finance. Not all will qualify. 0% based on 1667 per 1,000 borrowed. Negative equity financed into new loan. Excludes taxes, title, license. Offers don't combine. Call 877-289-6670 or go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details. Expires 2/6/2022. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 in Toms River.
This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig wrapping up my 3rd hour here on a Saturday, hanging out with you guys. Get some of your comments before we get out of here. Of course, text board is open as always at 609-403-0973. You can DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle City. And we are live on YouTube at 973 ESPN. We'll run down some picks for you for the weekend, along with some thoughts on all the action. And as promised, I will get to some UFC thoughts in just a minute. But first, let's run through the NFL slate, because I know a lot of people are going to want to have some thoughts on this weekend. And, you know, I don't bring up my records to brag. I bring up my records because I'm a big believer in value. I'm a big believer in you don't make picks. You don't do things just for the sake of doing things. Okay. There's a reason why we have that disclaimer gambling problem called 1-800-GAMBLER, because I'm not interested in just giving you picks. All right. If I give you something on the radio, I'm going to do it myself. So, for example, that Matthew Stafford, at least 1 interception, at least 2 touchdown passes thrown, to me is an excellent same game parlay. Whether you're on DraftKings, FanDuel, it's a great option. Okay. that's one idea that I really love out there. But in terms of the rest of the games, here's how I'm looking at it. First of all, I told you guys earlier today, I told you guys yesterday, I love the over in the Raiders-Bengals game. Listen, I heard the stat multiple times this week. The Bengals defense has allowed more points at home than any other playoff team. And the Bengals have had more points scored per game in their building than any other NFL team in the entire league. I love the over in this game. I feel like you can talk yourself in and out of any scenario, though, when it comes to the Raiders and the Bengals. And there's really not a side that's a favorite. Literally right now, I just saw the numbers move. 50-50 split in terms of people's picks, in terms of betting when it comes to the line. So I say just stay away from that. Just hit the over and root for some points here in this game. I told you guys earlier, I like the Patriots in this game. It looks like the numbers actually moved to 5 at this point at a few different places. So listen, 4.5, 5. How do you go against Belichick? I understand people said that earlier this week about Nick Saban and Georgia 1, but this is different. That was in a dome, no weather conditions involved. The Patriots practiced this week out in the cold. The Bills practiced in a warm dome, and Josh Allen's thinking about if he's going to fumble the ball or not. It's just, I got to lean Patriots in that game. I gave you guys my prediction for the Eagles game yesterday. I think Tom Brady and the Bucks, I think they win like a 30-24 kind of game, 28-21, maybe a 32-27 kind of game. You know what the pattern is? The pattern is I have the Eagles covering in every one of those scenarios. I just don't see the Bucks running away from this game. I think the Eagles are better than the team that the Bucks played earlier this year. I think the Eagles running attack will keep the game close early on, and then later the Bucks will pull away with playoff Lenny and Brady. But I think the weather is going to impact this game. The Eagles running attack. I just have no faith in Jonathan Gannon. It's like, Daz Deal said over on YouTube, he says, "Go Birds. Don't see us winning the game, though." I'm with you, man. Look, go Eagles. Go out there and try to win the game. You play to win the game, right? But I just can't go against a team that has all the playoff experience they do. Hurts, Sirianni, this is their first playoff game ever. I just don't see them able to win the game outright. But the 8.5 seems like it's way too much to me. I told you guys earlier, I'm taking 49ers outright to beat the Cowboys. I got no faith in McCarthy. I think ever since I saw what he said and did on Hard Knocks earlier this year, I literally just am like, I don't believe in this guy at all. Everything he said and did on Hard Knocks just was offensive. It was so bad. Like, he would curse just to try to rile the guys up. And then you see the picture of the Cowboys players on a split screen, like, yeah, we don't care. We just don't care. Couple more picks real quick before we get to you guys. Steelers, Chiefs. Chiefs win. I don't have a feel in that game. I'm staying away from it. Cardinals, Rams. I'm going Rams just because it's Kingsbury versus McVay. Give me the head coaching advantage, McVay. Give me the talented defense. No DeAndre Hopkins for the Cardinals. I think they'll be motivated. I think they'll be inspired by J.J. Watt coming back. I just don't see them winning the game. Jeff in Summers Point, texting at 609-403-0973. Go Eagles. Got my flag out front. Got my Bud Lights and my Fireballs stocked up. Got all my jerseys set up. Go Birds. My prediction, Eagles win 27-17. That's from Jeff in Summers Point. Hey, man, if the Eagles pull it off, I will be thrilled. Because I want to see the Eagles do that. I like Jalen Hurts. I've been impressed with Sirianni. I love them running the ball. I like to see the offense dictate the pace of the game. The UFC fights tonight. Calvin Kattar versus Giga Chikadze. Calvin Cater seems like a live dog man at plus 185. Might be a solid move. It really might. Not the greatest card in the world. A lot of too close fights to call on the card, but that might be the one to go with. I'm Josh Hennig. I'll catch you later. Have a great weekend.
Today, it's a Big 12 showdown at Allen Fieldhouse when the 9th-ranked Kansas Jayhawks welcome the West Virginia Mountaineers. Kansas, West Virginia.
Fuego, baby, it's fuego.
The college basketball season continues.
Launching a 3 left wing.
Only on 97.3 ESPN.
10 seconds to go. Into the corner. Launching a 3. Got it.
Coverage begins at 1 p.m.